So we're going to run this information session. It'll take about 45 minutes, I would say, to deliver this presentation by Paul Billiken and myself. My name is Jeff Brown, and I'm responsible for all aspects of the program that are not to do with content. That is Paul's responsibility. I've been working for financial training companies for the last 20 odd years. Love it. When it comes to educating anybody, it's my passion. It's what I love to do. And so it's great to be here with a program that is that I think is genuinely phenomenal. This is since September, I've been speaking to alumni of the MLI. This has been my campaign since September, and it's been incredible, the feedback that I've received from alumni around the world, different companies, different sectors, and honestly, it's been thrilling to speak to these guys. So this is one thing that I'll come to towards the end of the presentation is to talk about alumni and getting in touch with alumni in order to find out more about the program. This is your objective really, is to find out as much as possible about the program, to get as much feedback as possible about the program, so that you can make an informed decision as to whether or not to enroll. Okay, so Paul Billiken. So this is what we're going to take you through. These are the topics we're going to take you through. We're going to I'll introduce Paul Billiken, who founded and designed the program. What is the MLI exactly? What does it consist of? Why is it beneficial for you? Is it beneficial for you depending on what role you're working in or what role you want to get into? We'll talk about the accreditations and partnerships. Who are the faculty? The candidate profiles are very important to give you an idea of whether this is suitable for you. Paul will also take you through the syllabus. We'll talk about the alumni, MLI alumni, the study partner program, which is all about whether you want to go through the program studying on your own or whether you want to partner up with people working either in the same company or the same region. Talk about the help desk, which is incredibly comprehensive. And we'll finish off with a Q&A session. So if you've got questions during the presentation, no problem. But if you think that they're able to wait until the end, that would be better. But otherwise, it's not important. You can ask questions whenever you like, to be honest. Okay, so who is Paul? I'm sure most of you know who Paul is. He's known around the world for his expertise in this subject, educated at Oxford and Imperial to PhD level. He's a banking practitioner with many years experience. He's also an academic, so he's got the best of both worlds. He's the founder of Specialization, which I'm sure a lot of you will know about. It's an AI company with literally thousands of LinkedIn followers. And you'll be hearing from him during the course of this presentation. What's it all about? Okay, so it's an incredibly comprehensive 8-month. You'll see how comprehensive it is when Paul takes you through the syllabus, but it's an 8-month part-time machine learning course. The lectures take place, I think it's 6 o'clock in the evening GMT. 1 p.m. ET in the States, 7 p.m. CET. It started out actually as a 6-month program, but we're updating it all the time. So it's become an 8-month program and with increased faculty as well. We need to have the right expertise for the right areas. So it is now an 8-month program. Lectures delivered in London, and the vast majority of people who do this program are from around the world, and they log in online. You can either watch it live or you watch the recordings of the lectures. It's comprised of 2 levels, level 1 and 2. There are 5 primers that you take before starting the program, 8 modules in total, on average 1 a month, 32 lecture weeks. There's assignments, there's a practical final project, very practical final project, which Paul will go into, a final exam, which can be taken from any global location. The MLI faculty is incredible. You'll see, I mean, it is world renowned. A lot of these people are world renowned, and it's a mixture of academics and practitioners. We'll take you through the faculty a little later in the presentation. Very practical. Candidates work with hands-on assignments designed to illustrate the algorithms studied and to experience firsthand the practical challenges involved in the design and successful implementation of machine learning models. Again, Paul will get into the nitty-gritty as to what exactly these assignments are about. Very practical again in nature, very, very practical. It's a professional qualification. This isn't a university qualification. It's a professional qualification. So what are the benefits? The reputation of the MLI is very, very strong. If you know, some of you may know already about the reputation of the MLI. Some of you may not. It is internationally renowned. 8-month part-time program, which we've already talked about, delivered half yearly. Lectures streamed online. Developed and taught by highly experienced practitioners and academics, as we've already mentioned. So the faculty is led by Paul, and they're all specialists in machine learning. Lifelong learning lectures, this is really important actually. So you've not only got the 8 months of the core content of the MLI program, but we also run regular seminars and webinars, and these are available in perpetuity for the rest of your careers. So once you've enrolled onto the program, 5 years down the line, if you've got an interview that you want to prepare for, you can go to our webinars and find and watch the webinar that relates to the interview that you're about to have. If you've got a big project on in a particular area within machine learning, then you can watch the lecture within the program that relates to that, or the additional lifelong learning lectures that relate to that as well. You also have access to all future MLI programs. So as I say, it is updated all the time. There are faculty reviews or reviews of the program by faculty every 6 months. These are pretty comprehensive meetings to review, what are the latest items that we need to incorporate into the program. It is accredited, CPD certified, 300 hours CPD certified. We've got relationships with NTT Data, with NAG. I'm sure you all know who NAG are, and for Lessons, of course, which was founded by Paul. So it is hand-picked, the faculty. We do choose who we want to teach specific topics on the program. Paul heads it up. Ivan Zdankin is his very able deputy. And these are some of the faculty members that we're talking about, either from working within financial services or within the universities and colleges. The profile of MLI students, it is a global profile. The majority, proportionally, the majority are from the UK, but otherwise, people really do come from everywhere in the world. 80% of students are distance learning. In other words, they reside outside the UK and they study this program virtually. These are the profiles, and this is really important. So I think that in order for you to consider yourself to be suitable for the program, you do have to fit into one of these profiles. I'll read them out because I think that's how important they are. The professional profiles that we're looking for to enroll onto this program are either quantitative analysts, those working in IT, quantitative trading, insurance companies, working within model validation departments, within risk management, equity traders, or high frequency traders. And in terms of academic profiles, we're looking for those who have a background in computing or maths or physics or banking and finance or engineering. And I think that if you fit into these profiles, then the ability to follow this program shouldn't be a problem. These are some of the institutions who send their employees onto the program. It's grown very quickly since its inception in 2018. And I think it's word of mouth more than anything that has enabled it to grow so much. And I think the other reason why, the other reason why it's grown so quickly is because of the practicality of the program. What you'll be learning, you should be able to apply to the desks that you work on immediately. So the MLI journey starts literally now. This is the open evening, and the journey goes right the way through to the end of the program, the final project, which is real world. You're applying everything that you've learned on the program as though in the real world. So in between, we're going to, in this particular presentation, we'll discuss the course details, live webcasts available as well on YouTube, recorded session available of this information session. So if a month down the line, your memory of the program is sketchy, then you can watch a recording of the session. Then the process is you apply online via the registration form. The admissions team will confirm acceptance within 3 working days. And it's usually based on your profile as to whether you're accepted onto the program or not. You then, if you are accepted, if you decide you want to enroll, you do the MLI primers, which includes algorithmic trading and Python. You'll receive the full set of course materials and textbooks before the start of the program, and then off you go. 8 modules. I say average of 1 month each, but they do vary in length on all aspects of machine learning. The lectures are online. There's also student faculty forum, which is really useful if you've got questions, if you're uncertain about certain topic areas. Once you've watched a lecture, if you're uncertain about something, you either come through to the help desk where you'll be able to speak to faculty, or you go to the forum, which is the communication is really good on the forum. There's an online an online test at the end of each module. If you fail a test at the end of a module, you can retake, and you can retake with the help of faculty. So our objective is really that you understand what is being taught on the program. And that means that if you need our help in order to understand what's being taught on the program, then we are very willing and ready to do that. So if you fail an online test, you can retake straight away with the help of a faculty member. There is a final unseen written exam at the end of Module 8, which I believe you can retake if you fail. I think Paul will be able to give you more details on that. And then there's a final project, and this is really impressive. This is basically putting into practice everything that you've learned on the program. Okay, I think I'll pass you over to the inimitable Paul Billiken.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for this excellent introduction. So if we look at the program, it consists of live lectures. If you're in a different geography, you can watch them remotely. They're typically given from level 39 in Canary Wharf in London. And we record them as well, so you can watch them on the website. We have assignments for you that you can do, and you can use them to reinforce your studies. Although actually, I think more recently we have been sort of moving more towards multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions are quite difficult, right? And especially if you have done any machine learning multiple choice question interviews, you will find them difficult because they are quite challenging. And I think having this content and being able to go through the multiple choice questions, I think is an important skill, especially as far as interviews are concerned. So there will be real world exercises and case studies based on real data that you will be able to play with, and individual lecturers will give you the opportunity to do this. We also organize ad hoc webinars and different aspects of the syllabus as well. And you also have a final project that you need to do, and it can be quite an extensive final project, can be quite practical, but it depends on your own interests in this area. And then you have the exam as well to pass to make sure that you get the certification. So if we move on to the next slide, there are several primers. So I think they're all full day, I think, apart from financial derivatives and algorithmic trading. So either way, they're either full. I think most of them are full day rather than half day. So we have the mathematics for machine learning. So there are a few mathematical prerequisites for the course, such as calculus, linear algebra, and so on. You can get a book such as Mathematics for Machine Learning. You can also get Schaum series books for this, but it's kind of very time consuming to go through the books. So it can take a long time for you to independently study this material. And instead of this, we have one intensive day when we cover basically all of the mathematics that you need. Now, it doesn't mean that we cover it in exhaustive depth, because it's you will have to look things up as the course progresses, but at least we give you the foundation, a full day of foundational mathematics that you can use to then approach the course more confidently. We have primers on financial risk, because that's one of the main applications that people work in. Classical quant finance applications. And then we have the, so financial derivatives and risk, we talk about option pricing, the Black-Scholes model, eta calculus. We introduce libraries such as QuantLib. Then we have the algorithmic trading primer, which is another major area of application of machine learning in finance. And we talk about many different things, such as microstructure, financial markets. We talk about portfolio management, and a lot of topics that you need to know if you want to apply machine learning in these areas. We also, as part of the financial derivatives and risk primer, I forgot to mention that we cover risk as well. We cover classical things such as VAR and CVAR, and we basically talk about risk management at length during this primer. So hopefully by the end of that primer, you will have an idea of how to price options and how to compute risk. Then programming is very important. And the main programming language that is used for ML work, for data science work, is Python. We have 2 primers in Python. We have the basic introductory primer in Python. Those of you who already program in Python can skip it. And then we have an advanced Python techniques primer, which looks in quite a lot of depth at Python programming and some of the more advanced techniques, such as how to use object-oriented programming, how to use more advanced libraries, how to optimize code in Python, things like that. Okay, so it's quite an advanced program from this point of view. So if we go to the next page, then we have module 1, which is about supervised learning, and this is what, when people say machine learning, quite a lot of them mean supervised learning. So you have some inputs and outputs, and you want to basically work out what the model is that links the inputs to the outputs. And there are the classical linear regression and regularization techniques. Those are probably the most useful techniques that you have in finance, linear regression. Very useful. You use it across the board from alpha generation to many other things. So I think it's very important to start with linear regression. Ensemble methods take it a step further. So if you go on Kaggle nowadays, you will find that most of the data science and machine learning challenges are actually one using ensemble methods, such as boosting, for instance. So they tend to outperform linear regression, particularly when there are non-linear relationships between things. Yes, you can actually use various transformations with linear regression. You can do quite a lot with linear regression, but ensemble methods take you further, and there are quite a few. So currently on Kaggle, the winning projects that work in tabular data, and most financial data still tends to be tabular, they tend to use ensemble methods. Kernel methods are important from the theoretical point of view because they're very mathematically developed. So if you want to reason about machine learning, kernel methods from the mathematical angle is often the way to think about things. Also, they're becoming more popular now that quantum computing is becoming more widespread, and so quantum ML is often regarded from the perspective of kernel methods as well. Then we have an introduction to Bayesian modeling. So a lot of the classical techniques in, for instance, in supervised learning and more generally machine learning, have their Bayesian counterparts. For example, so there are Bayesian multi-armed bandits and similar algorithms. So those algorithms, there is an entire basically direction in machine learning. So you can, if you look at Bayesian stuff, that will be helpful. That will open the understanding of those methods to you. So Bayesian modeling is a useful technique. Then we go to deep learning, something that is very popular nowadays. We go from the foundations of deep learning. We look at what neural nets are. Then we talk about how to train them, backpropagation, optimization, regularization. Then we look specifically at applications of neural nets to finance. And Blanca Horvath will present the work that she has done with her colleagues on deep learning volatility, on applying deep learning to pricing derivatives, which is another major direction in deep learning. And on the next slide, we have unsupervised learning. So very useful for making sense of data that you have, that maybe there is some latent structure in that data and you want to make sense of it. So we have things like dimensionality reduction techniques, clustering algorithms, PCA and autoencoders. We also look at alternative data. So Saeed Amn, who is an expert on alternative data, who's written one of the 2 books on alternative data, he will be presenting alternative data, which is again a very interesting and useful direction. So if we go to the next slide, then we will see the practitioner's approach to machine learning. So usually to run machine learning in practice, you need fairly sophisticated equipment, you need to use GPUs and so on, but more often than not, you now have pipelines that you set up, right? So you can automate many aspects of machine learning. So we talk about things such as reproducibility, and we talk about how to improve feature engineering and model tuning. There are lots of tricks now on the feature engineering side. Differential machine learning was pioneered by Savine and Hughes, and it's very useful for derivatives pricing, leads to more stable models that converge more quickly. So that's kind of a lot of practical stuff in this module. Then if we move on to the next slide, then we have reinforcement learning. So people like DeepMind have done a lot of work in reinforcement learning. You may have heard about the game of Go. It's one of the three main paradigms in machine learning, alongside supervised learning and unsupervised learning. It's very interesting, so it can learn optimal strategies in many, many different contexts. So nearly everything can be modeled as a Markov decision process. So reinforcement learning algorithms allow you to learn policies and strategies that work in those situations. There have been applications to wealth management. There have been applications to optimal order execution. So definitely reinforcement learning is, according to some people at DeepMind, for example, the direction to look at in machine learning. So these are the two big players, kind of non-university players in ML, DeepMind and OpenAI. You may have heard of OpenAI, who have just released the ChatGPT. There has been a lot of publicity around ChatGPT. So if we move on to the next slide, we talk about time series. So time series, again, so most of the data in finance takes the form of time series, things that change over time. So alpha generation, volatility surfaces. So we do tend to look at financial time series data. And the entire module is delivered by Francesca Lasseri, who is a time series expert at Microsoft, and she has written an excellent book on time series and machine learning. So if we move on to the next slide, then we will see that we also have things like generative modeling. We also talk about natural language processing. So when I start talking about things like ChatGPT, well, we look at attention, transformers, BERT, and other things to do with natural language processing. So Olga Petrova, who is an expert on natural language processing, will introduce you to the subject. And David Foster, who's an expert on generative modeling, will talk to you about variational autoencoders and GANs. Then we have the data-driven market simulator. That's for small data environments. That's the recent work by Blanca Horvath. So this is quite an eclectic module. It contains quite a lot of different things, and hopefully it will be very useful because, again, sort of OpenAI and ChatGPT are, some of the leading directions in machine learning nowadays. Move on to the next slide. Then we'll talk about quantum computing and quantum machine learning. So Jack Jacquier has recently co-authored a book on quantum machine learning, and he will be presenting this module. So he co-authored that book with Alexei Kondratyev. And this is, again, quantum machine learning, a very topical thing, very recently developed. Quantum computing is, again, very important. There have been significant advances in quantum computing recently. So in this module, we explain how quantum computing can be applied to achieve the quantum advantage in quantum machine learning. Some of this remains theoretical because not all of this has been realized in practice. And currently, the quantum computers remain fairly limited, although there have been a few significant improvements and also worrying improvements because, of course, quantum computing, if it advances sufficiently, can break pretty much all cryptographic algorithms that currently exist. So it's a very worrying development as well as very interesting development. So, and that is why people have started to update some of their cryptographic algorithms to be more kind of quantum secure. Okay, anyway, so if we move on to the next slide, you will get in touch with the Alumni Organization, and I think this is something that Jeff can tell you more about. I think this is more, yeah, over to Jeff.
Sure. Okay, thanks very much, Paul. Very eloquent as always. So I think this is really critical. If you are thinking about enrolling onto this program, I think it's worth, well, get in touch with me. So you've got my telephone number. You should all have my phone number and my email address. Just get in touch with me if you want to get in touch with MLI alumni either from your organization or from wherever you reside, or from alumni working in similar roles to the one that you're working in, or working in roles that you want to move into. But I think it's important to speak to alumni, that's for sure, just to get a different perspective to the perspective that that we're giving you here today. Okay, then study partner program. So I think this is really up to you. If you prefer studying on your own, then that's the thing to do. And if you would like to get together with others, either from your organization again, or from your region, or from those working in a similar role, that can be very useful actually. And it can be a lot of fun as well. You know, tackling challenges during the course of this program, which is quite an intense program, with you know, people who are working in similar roles to you, can be really productive. So have a think about that if you do decide to enroll. The help desk is very, very responsive. And you know, we say maximum of 24 hours before you get a response. Normally it's quicker than that. So the faculty support is also very comprehensive. There's a lot of faculty members, and they're all experts in their own field within machine learning, which is a pretty vast field. So anytime you need to get in touch, especially when there's a particular topic that you're struggling to understand, then please get in touch with us. We strongly encourage that so that you can better understand whatever topic it is that you're struggling with. So we do have an employment service, and it's very strong because all the contacts that the faculty members have, and that WBS Training, who are the training provider that delivers this program that we have in this field, is incredibly extensive. So we do help those who graduate from the program to get work. However, and this is a big but, it is for self-funded applicants only. So if you are sponsored by your company to go through this program, and we will know if you're sponsored for obvious reasons, in terms of the payment that comes through will be from your company, will be liaising with your accounts department and so on. Whether you are fully sponsored or partially sponsored or 1% sponsored, then we can't help you. Okay, so then you're on your own insofar as employment opportunities are concerned, and we'd strongly advise you to stay at your company who's helped you financially to enroll onto the program, and to climb the ladder within that organization. For those of you who are self-funded, then we help you significantly, and with interview coaching as well. And I think it's important to bear in mind that in this day and age, you know, if you go on to a job search on LinkedIn, for example, you just go on to any job within machine learning, you'll probably find between, I don't know, 20 and 150 LinkedIn contacts who have gone for that one job. It is unbelievably competitive. So what we do is we help you get ahead of the field. And the way to get ahead of the field is first and foremost how to present your CV, what not to put on your CV. In other words, keep it relevant to whatever job spec it is that you're looking at. In order to, if you are going for an interview, then nowadays it's not enough just to rely on your experience and on the job spec. You have to do your research as well. So we help with that. to do as much research as possible, not only of the job role, but also how does that job fit in into the team that you're going to be working for? What's the function of the team within the organization? What are the organization's primary strategies? What are their objectives to meet those strategies? You do as much reading as you possibly can. You contact people within the organization if it's big enough, to seek their feedback, their advice, their guidance. And that way you turn up at the interview and you're ready. And you'll be ahead of the game, and you'll know what questions to ask. You'll know what gaps, what knowledge gaps you need help to fill in. Excuse me. In terms of whoever's going to be interviewing you, you need to know which questions to ask. We also help with presentation skills as well. So if you do need to deliver a presentation, then we give you coaching to do that. There's no additional fee for this service, by the way. This is part of the overall package, if you like, and we're extremely proud of this service. It's, as I say, to begin with, the contacts that we're able to get in touch with, particularly, incidentally, if you get a really good mark in the MLI, if you do really well in the online tests, and if you do really well in the final exam, and if the final project is really good, then we are able to promote you to our contacts, and we can say, look, there's this guy who's just completed the MLI program. I think this person is well worth seeing. So if you've got time for an initial interview. The other thing is that the MLI alumni themselves are incredible contacts because they know what you've been through, they know what knowledge you've acquired, and they know what skills you've acquired as well. I noticed that a question has just popped up, and we'll get to that in a second. Here we go. Right, let me stop sharing. And let's get to the chat box. Right, here we go. So I think there have been, hello, a lot of questions here. Jeff, can you make your presentation full screen, which we've done actually? Okay, so I haven't seen any of this because I was sharing my screen. What is the percentage of those self-funded getting a job after this course? How long after graduation, for instance? Crikey, that's a question that's extremely hard to answer. For those that we help to get a job, it's pretty high insofar as when we're able to track graduates, in other words, when we help graduates to get a job, then it's very easy to track. But for graduates who don't use our service to get a job, then they don't necessarily let us know. Some do. Some say, thank you very much for this program helped me to get a job. But there are some that don't, and which is fine, which is reasonable. Once they've got a job, then they're extremely focused and so on. I hope that answers your question satisfactorily, Stefan. Are there any other questions?
Feel free if you want to unmute yourselves, ask a question directly.
Good idea. Is it possible to cherry pick the courses? No, you need to, it doesn't work. I think Paul would probably explain this better, but I think there's a natural, from one module to another, there's a natural flow. And so it wouldn't be right if we suggested, right, just pick module 3. It wouldn't necessarily make sense. You need to go through the whole program to kind of understand what I'm talking about. It's really important that you've got the knowledge from every single module. You'll just be that much more rounded as a working professional, having covered every single module. Pleasure. Yes, it is. So we're very, very flexible when it comes to that. You can actually, it doesn't just have to be two halves, incidentally. So, if after midway through module 2, for example, a big project comes up at work that stops you from being able to study this course, you stop where you're at and you pick up where you left off 6 months later. So that we're extremely flexible. There are those who do the first half, so level 1, if you like, and then they take a 6-month break and then they do level 2. Not a problem. All the lectures are recorded. Yeah. So for example, for those of you who are in Asia, where, it's often kind of the early hours of the morning, when we're doing, delivering the lectures live, then, obviously for you guys, it's going to be extremely important. Does every module show direct application to finance or financial markets? Paul, I'll leave that one to you.
So does okay, yeah, I mean, I think the vast majority of modules have finance-oriented examples. For things that are maybe slightly less finance-oriented, perhaps on generative, I mean, even for generative machine learning, we have finance-oriented examples. We actually have an entire lecture dedicated to generative methods in finance. So I would say that all lectures do have finance-oriented examples.
So the next question, Paul, is this training relevant for ML jobs outside of finance?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, ML is ML. I mean, I mean, definitely there is a lot of finance content that you cover, but you also cover basically the basic ML. I just hope that you use ML responsibly and don't use it to build like killer robots or something like that.
The reading content available after the lectures? Yes.
Yeah.
One lecture a week? Not always. I think that it can be 2 lectures a week as well, can't it, Paul?
I think in most cases we have 1 lecture per week. I think we may have other seminars sometimes, so that may increase the number of hours. So if you do those, but in general, yes, we do have a lecture per week. But it's 2 hours. It's a 2-hour lecture, so it's a fairly long lecture, but it's manageable. I mean, I think 2 hours is just about. Sometimes it may be slightly less or slightly more, depending on the material that the lecturer covers. But I think that probably tends to be fairly manageable.
Next one from Xenia, Paul. Are there assignments for every module? And if so, do they also count towards the certificate or just the end of module tests?
Okay, so I think we have replaced many of the assignments with multiple choice question tests. And yes, there is one of those per module currently, and there is a big project basically for the entire course. So you can basically pick a topic and write a report and do a practical project on the entire course.
How many hours of study and assignment work per week are expected for people with no prior experience? It's a really good question, this actually. I think that the average, I would say, is 10 to 12 hours per week. But what I would add is this, that, this, like everything in life, I think the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And what we've noticed is that those who put in extra reading, extra work on top of the lectures themselves, and really put in as much effort as possible into the homework, if you like, every week following lectures, so that your understanding of the concepts being taught is that much more rounded, is that much deeper, then you'll be better for it. So I say that an average 10 to 12 hours per week, which includes the lectures during the week. If it's one a week, I think on the odd occasion it's two twice a week. But yeah, so I would suggest, and I know that a lot of you are going to be working full time. This is the majority are working full time whilst they're doing this course, so it is intense, but it should be, and the more work you put into it, the more enjoyable it becomes. That's my philosophy anyway. So I say 10 to 12 hours. If you can squeeze in more than 10 to 12 hours, do so. What are the specialities at the end of this course? I think it's the, is that the project, Paul? Is it?
Yeah, so you can use the project to sort of specialize in a specific area. But in terms of, I'm not sure whether you're asking in terms of ML. So yeah, in ML, you probably want to become good at a number of techniques that you find important. So I mean, I've been doing quite a lot of work in reinforcement learning, for example, because it's quite topical and quite a powerful paradigm. But you could specialize in something else, right? Or you could, learn. I mean, it depends. I mean, like maybe you are managing quants. Yeah, maybe rather than doing everything hands-on, you want to be able to manage kind of large projects. Yeah, so that is possible as well. So you can learn to perform that kind of work as well. In that case, you probably don't need to specialize as much. You probably want to do something much more general and go for breadth. And in terms of what you can specialize in the industry, I mean, there are kind of general data science roles. There are various quant roles that you can do. There are various quant trader roles at hedge funds, and on the sell side, there are many different specialities. I mean, there are derivatives pricing quants, structurers. You can do stuff outside finance. You can go for alternative data, alternative investment, and so on. So there are many different roles that you can do.
Is MLI associated with WBS Training Company? Yes, it is. So there's a whole team behind the MLI program. So you've got in a way the front face of the program, which is going to be the faculty, and then behind the scenes is WBS Training, where there's a whole team that delivers the program, that provides the help desk, that offers the employment service, that offers advice and guidance. I mean, it's substantial. So, and that's WBS Training. That's the training company that are responsible for delivering this program as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah. So, just what is the course fee? Sorry, I've given the link for the course fees there. So you can all click on that link and you'll get an idea of the course fees. There are numerous ML courses online. What are the competitive advantages of this program compared to the others? Well, I think that the faculty, I think, makes a big difference. There's a combination of practitioners and academics. I think actually the cost of the program is incredibly reasonable. When you see, I don't know, Ying, whether you're referring, there are some university programs, for example, especially in America, that are, let's say, the equivalent of MLI, but are massively expensive. And I think for an 8-month program, the cost of this course, and especially with the support surrounding this course, the expertise delivering the course, the cost in comparison to other programs is really reasonable. I hope you agree. You may not, and that's fine. That's your perspective. But yeah,
maybe I'll add to this. Thank you, Jeff. So that, I mean, there are very few actually finance-focused courses, and the courses that you have online will probably not show an example, I don't know, of how to price an option using deep learning volatility. Will probably not have someone, who actually wrote that paper give you a video introduction to that. So actually have, like, people who we have here are actually the people who have contributed quite a lot of these these papers and so on. So I think that's another advantage, and you don't necessarily have access to kind of lectures, but all of them. But I would say that, the material that you have online, yeah, the other thing is it doesn't tend to, you don't tend to kind of answer questions. It doesn't tend to give you a lot of stuff that you would get by interacting with a lecturer, by attending a lecture. So I think that's another thing. But I would say the stuff that that you access online, some of it is very good. So you can access it. You can use it to complement your studies. I think it's a good idea. It's just yeah. So it's again. So maybe over to Jeff on this.
yeah. So. Right, can the lectures be attended in person in London? Yes, they can, and they are. Does everyone do the same project at the end of the course?
You choose your own project, right? You choose your own project title. And also there is a question, is this course equivalent to an MSc degree? So it's not an MSc degree, it's not a university degree, it's a certification. It's approved by, for example, continued professional development. But but also an MSc degree is usually kind of whether it's part-time or full-time, it assumes that you spent sort of a considerable contiguous chunk of time at university studying the content. So from this angle, it's a much less. So I mean, it requires it doesn't require you to sort of quit your job, right? Which an MSc degree probably would, or it would require you to, for example, to commute to the university and spend maybe a week at university here or there. So so this course is designed for people who are working and who have other commitments. Maybe working, maybe I don't know, maybe other things, but not necessarily able to dedicate a year of kind of formal university study.
What are the chances of being interviewed for a quantitative analyst position without having a degree in math or finance when holding the MLI certificate? If you use our employment service, if you're self-funded, then I think you can get an interview. If you don't use our employment service, it's going to be tough, and I'll explain why. Because there's already going to be, if you're going for jobs, for vacancies, there's already going to be a lot of applicants who do have a math or finance background. So that will be tough. I'm no getting away from that, especially in this day and age. There's so many people who have the requisite degrees, and often with the job specs that you're looking at, these are prerequisites. Do you support with job placements outside the UK? Absolutely, yes, we do. Such as the US or Middle East, yes. If you want, if anybody wants to talk to me more about job placements after completing the program, then let's arrange a time to talk. So just send me an email, and we'll arrange a time for us to have a chat about how this all works. Next question from Xenia: is it more focused on banking derivatives applications, or is it also relatable to asset management practitioners, more strategy, portfolio construction focused? Paul.
Okay, so I think it's roughly evenly split between those. So it has quite a lot of content on both these topics. So yes, basically both. Yeah, and we introduce the background of both as well.
What time and days are the lectures held in London, and where in London?
Yeah, so they're at 6 o'clock at level 39, 1 Canada Square, Canary Wharf, on Tuesdays.
Any more for any more? Correct. That's right, Gagan. And the building is level 39. Pleasure. Yes, there are. So if you want to get in touch with alumni from South Africa, send me an email. Thanks, Marco. Thanks, Yaroslav. I'm not going to pronounce your surname. Thanks a lot for joining us today, everybody. And I hope it's proved useful for you. If you've got any questions at all, please get in touch with me whenever you want.
Thank you.